because the most important thing is what's going on with the workers at the Amazon labor facility up in Albany. We all know that we don't have real labor laws in this country anymore because union busting is something that has become almost second nature for these oligarchs, especially Jeff Bezos, who's probably the biggest union buster of them all. Although I think the Walton family will probably compete for that once the Walmart workers really start getting their act together. What happened up in Albany? Why did they not unionize?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons, but I think Amazon, the union busting that they did in Staten Island, they kind of dialed it up a few notches in Albany. There was, frankly, threats to disabled workers, which I had never seen before. I received audio of workers with disabilities being brought into HR and put under investigation for essentially asking the union busting consultants that Amazon has flooded these warehouses with to leave them alone. One of those workers is now suspended. And also that worker in particular, I learned Amazon HR basically tried to manipulate a worker with a cognitive disability into saying Christian Smalls, the head of the Amazon labor union, had started a fire at the warehouse. So I would say a few things. Number one, if you look at Staten Island, they had a year to organize, which they needed. They needed that year. This warehouse, once they got approval to hold an election, it was like a month or so after that they held the election. Right. Secondly, Amazon was they have more union busting consultants that they're bringing in from out of state than actual like managers at this warehouse. And I was told by a few workers that essentially it's like these consultants are hovering over workers and they're pulling them aside constantly, just propaganda about voting no. Why, if the union passes, we might have to lay people off. Right. If the union passes, benefits might get, less generous. And I think that how a couple workers put it to me was, I think it was kind of like a psychological warfare that they made workers think if they voted yes, that Amazon would find out and they could lose their jobs, which of course it's a secret ballot. So Amazon, I wouldn't say definitely couldn't find out, but they're not supposed to find out. But I think, if you're a worker, it's really tough times out there. Most of these workers are paycheck to paycheck. A lot of them work multiple jobs outside of Amazon. If you are intimidated that way, Christian Smalls and the folks at JFK weren't up there full time, obviously, because it's in Albany. It's powerful. They lost by 200 votes, so that is a lot. But technically, if a few things changed, it could have been narrowed. So I think in terms of Amazon, they have all the money in the world to throw this army of union busting consultants in warehouses around the country. Starbucks, they didn't have that level. We're talking like, over 10 to 15 union busting consultants flooding this warehouse. Starbucks did not have it to that level. And of course, the difference is Starbucks, at the most, maybe 30 workers. These warehouses have 800, 900 workers. So there's going to be a lot of, I think there's going to be more lost battles until Amazon workers get kind of that run where you just take off and everyone's voting yes. But I think, there's going to have to be lessons learned, because to me, I kind of compare it to what progressives have dealt with the flood of super PAC money coming into primaries. It's kind of similar where these workers, it's just a flood of propaganda and union busting consultants really making them fear voting yes.
I was going to say that. I was going to say this sounds like an electoral politics system where, you can't do that kind of campaign in a month. Like that's something that probably takes multiple tries, just like we deal with as the left challenging incumbents. It's the same thing. Like it's something that takes sort of like chipping away. So the fact that they're even making this much progress is still somewhat inspired to me, because it still was, where were we 2 years ago on any of that? Like it's still, I don't know. I feel somewhat hopeful.
I also think that the broader issue here that, I don't know if there's a solution imminently, is there's no real labor laws in this country. example, like I said, I mean, you have a worker with a disability pulled into HR. They say he's under investigation. He's not even allowed to have another worker there as a witness. He's not capable. He has a cognitive impairment of really sticking up for himself. Then they try to rope him into, blaming a fire on Christian Smalls when he says, no, Christian didn't start the fire. They then ask, did you start the fire? He says, no. Well, did somebody from the Amazon labor union start the fire? He says, no. They escort him out and suspend him. There's no labor laws other than for them to file with the National Labor Relations Board a complaint. And the best case scenario there is, months and months and months, and he gets reinstated. But there's no criminal consequences for Amazon to do these kind of things. I was also told that Amazon had safety officials guarding outside the warehouse to not let media in the days of the election. I was up there a week before the election. I wasn't there the days of the election, but I wonder why they wouldn't want media there. So there really is no labor protections where a company like Amazon would think twice to just blatantly break the law, because it's not like Jeff Bezos or anyone's going to jail for these kind of things. At the most, maybe they'll have to pay some fines. That's why the PRO Act was so important, which we got lip service from the Democratic Party, but no actual effort to pass it. So until there are actual labor laws that actually have teeth, I think we're going to see more of this. The union, Christian Amazon Labor Union, I think they're going to have to, be resilient and take lessons learned from this loss. And how do we combat with this army of union busting consultants when it's not our warehouse? Because remember, Christian and the Amazon Labor Union, they were organizing in their own warehouse. So they knew the workers there. They had like a home field advantage where this was a separate warehouse. So they could go up there. I think Christian and organizers went up there a few times, but you're not there full time to organize. So
it has to come from within there. Like you have to get enough of the people there on board that it becomes their project. That's how you start changing the minds, when it's coming from within.
Yeah.
And it takes a while.
I'd also say, I mean, we've all spoke quite often about independent media. We need more coverage of these union races before they happen. I mean, I try. I drove up there. I covered a rally there, interviewed the workers. But, a lot of these workers are, I wouldn't say like very, very young, but a lot of them are on Twitter, TikTok. One of the things that was very successful about Christian and the Staten Island workers campaign is they use digital media really well. And they TikTok videos and videos inside the warehouse were getting out there showing union busting and bad things happening. And that gets around, and then workers who might not know about the union or might be on the fence about the union, they're seeing this on the platforms they're on. Whereas with this, I mean, I don't know of any other outlet that was covering the fact that Albany had an election coming up, had any workers on. Without that kind of exposure, you're not going to get enough traction for the workers that might be on the fence in the warehouse to see stuff on digital media.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.